welcome to the first episode of the Jacob Sanders podcast, aka Never Done. So, since I don't really know what I'm doing here, I don't really know how to podcast. I've been behind a camera before, but not really like this. I decided to go to Claude or the AI and to ask it to interview me. So, I guess technically my first real guest on this podcast is going to be AI or a robot or whatever you want to call AI. So I'm excited to get started. So let's jump into it. So Jacob, who are you? Who are you really? That's the first question that Claude asked me today. And I'd like to first tell you that I am a Christian, a family man. I have an entrepreneurial drive. I always have a little bit, at least in my adult life. But a little bit deeper than that, my day job is I work at McBride Truck Sales in Carbondale, Illinois, which is where I grew up. McBride Truck Sales is the family business. My grandparents started that in the 1960s. And so I grew up there, and I always felt like I maybe knew that I was going to be working there at some point. So that's where I'm at currently in my life. I also am a worship pastor and media director at a church in Carbondale, Illinois called Grand Avenue Christian Church. Funny story, I actually grew up here at Grand Avenue Christian Church, and my mom was the worship pastor before me. Now, that may sound like a little bit of nepotism. It really wasn't. So it just kind of all fell into place, and I'd love to tell you that story, and I'm sure I will as we continue to have these episodes. You might even hear a little bit more about it today. Another thing about me, I have a wife. Her name is Mackenzie, and a dog named Ivy. She's this little Pomeranian husky. Maybe I'll toss a picture up there. But she's great. If you ask my wife, we have a daughter, not a dog. But if you ask me, she's a good dog, but she's just a dog, right? So don't hate me for feeling that way. I have a brother and a sister, both younger than me. I've been surrounded by family. Like I said, growing up in the family business, growing up here at church, we're a tight-knit family, a tight-knit community of family, I think is a better way to describe it. My family, I get to work with a lot of them, but both on my mom and my dad's side, I'm surrounded by family all in the area. So I am currently in Ironman 70.3 training. So at this exact moment, my life looks like waking up in the morning, training very early for hours, and then going to work, and then going to another work, getting something else done, and then working on something else. And then at night, it's usually church stuff, so it's a little bit more work, and then spending time with my family. So it's a busy life that I've picked for myself. I have the Ironman coming up here in 2 weeks, and I'm a little bit excited to get to chill after that for about a week there, get to let my body rest. But fitness is very important to me. That's kind of where I'm at in the stage of life. I've lost over 100 pounds in the last 2 years, or just about 100 pounds in the last 2 years. And it's been incredible to feel that transformation, to see that transformation, to see people's reactions to that transformation, if I'm being honest with you. It's been overwhelmingly positive. And that's kind of why I have this drive to create Seek First, and I'll get to that a little bit later. Question 2 is, where does your faith come from, and was it always there? So I think for anybody that has faith, there becomes a moment where it becomes your own, even if you've been around it your entire life. So I grew up at my home church. It's called Grand Avenue. It's where I work now. I know I mentioned that a few minutes ago. And I've always had this connection to faith. I've always had this deep-rooted connection in my family, this deep-rooted connection in the business, actually. And then my mom, of course, being the worship director for a few years before I've had the opportunity to do it. There was always this sense of faith, right? And I think eventually I had to make it my own. So I grew up in church, and then I actually got baptized at a pretty young age. I think I was about 7 or 8 years old. And to be honest with you right now, I feel like that was too early. I don't know if I necessarily truly believed in what I was doing. I knew who God was. I knew that I believed in him, but I didn't really have my own faith yet. So my high school years, of course, I developed a little bit of my own sense of self, a sense of a little bit of rebelliousness, right? That little thought in my head that maybe this isn't real and life would be a lot easier if I just believed that it wasn't real, kind of crept up a few more times than I would like to admit. But somewhere along the way, I did develop my own faith. I had been to all the church camps as a kid and all the conferences through my high school years. And I think actually in those conferences is kind of where I developed this sense of my own faith. I became the person who owned their faith, right? And I guess that's what I mean by everyone eventually has to earn their own faith. So it was actually at those conferences that I kind of got the drive and the pull towards actual vocational ministry. And I really didn't want that. And again, I'm sure I'll talk about it a little bit later. But it's not something that I had pictured for myself at all, not even a little bit. So that was a really interesting part of my life to look back and to see where I'm at now is pretty incredible. And it's one of those things that I can honestly tell you God is real, because it would not have happened this way if he wasn't. So question number 3 that Claude, my wonderful host, has asked me is, you're trying to run 3 businesses while working a day job. Why and what's driving that? Through losing a bunch of weight, I had this sense of the lack of discipline, right? It takes a lot of discipline to go from eating whatever you want, whenever you want, and enjoying every piece of cake and every piece of pizza and all the burgers, to saying, hey, I actually have to cut a lot of this out, not because I need to lose fat or lose a bunch of weight, but just to be a healthier person, to take care of my body, right? And that's kind of where that drive actually initially came from, to lose weight, was to take care of my body. I developed this terrible health anxiety that was controlling my life. It was hurting my marriage a little bit. And that's what gave me the initial drive to go and to try to lose some of the weight. So I noticed that drive applies to business, it applies to faith, it applies to all these things, just like it applies to losing weight. So that's my drive, is I want to help people tie in their discipline, their community in faith, their fitness. I want to tie it all together. So that's where these ideas came from. I've had the idea for Seek First for about 6 months now. So that's about halfway through 2025. I had the thought, like, why isn't there a programming app that also has daily devotionals? That was my actual first thought. And my first thought was not, oh man, I should go make that. It was just, I wish that was a thing, because over the course of a couple years, I get bored really easily with workout programs. So I went through a lot of different just online programming that's cookie cutter, and it's the same everywhere you go. None of it has any tie back to faith or back to discipline, habits, back to really anything else but this is your workout for the day. It might have some progress tracking. So that's where the idea started for Seek First, right? And that's where my hunger came from, was let's make something great that helps people not only grow in their fitness level, but also in their faith and discipline at the same time. Because that discipline applies to every aspect of our lives, every single aspect of our lives. And I think growing up around people who were running a business, who were successful in business, that did not hurt my drive to want to create something of my own. And to be honest with you, another big reason, to be completely honest with you, money has a factor, right? Like, things aren't getting any cheaper. And I want to create something of my own that creates enough value for people that it generates a little bit of money. So that hopefully one day, maybe this vocational ministry thing can be my full-time gig, so that we don't have to worry about money, or maybe I can do that for free. So that's a thought that I've had. That's where my drive comes from. That's why I want to get up early and I want to get after it and I want to constantly be making things better and I want to be marketing things. It comes from this entrepreneurial drive that has been built into me from birth. And I think God gave me that as a gift. And I think my family raised me up and showed me how that works. And really, it's just been taught to me throughout my entire life. So question 4 here is, tell me about Seek First. What was the original idea, right? So I kind of just hinted at the original idea. So Train Seek First was originally going to be a pure programming and faith-based devotional app. So you would go into the app, you would make a login, you would pay your monthly subscription, and you would get access to multiple types of programs. So I think I had built in a 12-week hybrid program, an at-home bodyweight program. I had built in 5K, 10K, half marathon programs, because that's kind of the lane that I know. I know how to train people for those endurance events. And I've competed in a lot of different events, don't get me wrong. I had some just strength work programs built in there as well. And then I had gone in and I had created all these daily devotionals, and I had it auto upload every single morning at about 5 a.m. It would upload to the app, and you would be able to go and to read your devotional, and it would have reflection questions and a prayer prompt and notes. And then I had habit tracking and progress tracking, and I had all these great features, right? And then I actually had a meeting with a guy that owns my gym, and he and a couple of his employees kind of walked me through what they thought the fitness world needed, and not only the fitness world, but the faith world as well. And so they gave me some pointers, and they told me, I think there's so many programming apps out there that you need to create something just a little bit different. And I'm sure I'll get to that in a few minutes, so I don't want to go too deep there. But that's where the original idea came from. That's where Seek First was born, in a training program app. And it has evolved into this awesome thing, and more of a community aspect thing, a habit and discipline creating machine formed and built in faith. That's the bottom of the pyramid, and everything that I will be building is faith. The foundation has to be faith. So yeah, that's where it came from. That's what I envisioned. I had spent time and money there, and so I'm going to get into question number 5 here. What happened when you took it to people for feedback? I kind of discussed that with you, so I don't need to go very deep here. They basically told me there's a million training program apps out there, none like this one, but there's a million training program apps out there. But what people crave is one-on-one connection with other people. And they see that. They live that every single day. So I take their advice there very seriously, because they think and they believe that what we need to build is community. It doesn't just need to be another programming app. It needs to be built around community, right? Because we're called to community, first of all, called to community with each other in faith. So we will grow together in our disciplines, in our faith, and our habits. And hopefully somewhere along the lines there, those will translate into our fitness lives, right? So that's where this was born. Once again, is out of that conversation with these guys that I respect. And I went into this meeting not expecting much feedback, because I had this product, right? I had built Train Seek First from nothing into, it was a web application, so it's still a web app, but it's an app nonetheless. I built it into this really solid MVP so that we could really get it launched. And I had launched, I was ready to go, and that's all it was a training program. And then I had this meeting, and they suggest these things to me, and I was discouraged at first. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. I was discouraged, not necessarily because they were wrong or I didn't like what they had said, but honestly because of the amount of time and effort I had put into this for it to not be the finished product, for it to not be the last thing that I did. And I knew it wasn't done yet, but I thought I was done enough for a little while for it to start generating some users, to gaining some traction, and to generating some revenue, honestly, to generating some of that money back that I had put into it, that money and that time spent, right? So I was really hopeful, and then I won't say it crushed my spirits, but it did get me a little bit sad about it. But in that sadness came more dedication and more fire, because I got even more excited about what was coming for Seek First. I got even more excited about the future of what it could be. So, with that being said, what did you do with the information? So question 6 is, what did you do with that? So I kind of just told you what I did a little bit, but the first step was to decide how I was going to go about the shift from programming to community. So question 6 and question 7 here are very similar, and I'm going to tie them together. Question 6, so what did you do with that? And what is Seek First now? And we're talking about the feedback that I got. So after the meeting, I went back to the drawing board, right? I went back and I got on my laptop and I researched community apps that had been successful in the past. And specifically, I was looking for community apps that were grounded in faith, because I didn't want to create just another Facebook community or a Strava or something like that. I wanted it to be my own, and I wanted it to provide real value to people, because without providing actual value, no one's going to use it. I might get a first few users, and then they're going to leave a couple reviews that say, don't need to use this, it doesn't really provide anything to my life, and then they're going to move on forever, and I'm not going to have any customer base. And so that's where it began, was just an in-depth market research at what exists already. And then I kind of came up with a plan. I decided what I wanted it to look like, how I wanted it to feel, how I wanted it to function, and then I just started building. So what it became, and what Seek First is now, is a full community app. So instead of Train Seek First, I just branded it Seek First. It is Seek First Community. So that can be found at seekfirst.community, original, right? And in Seek First Community, you can post just like you could to any other community-based platform. You can track your body weight. You can track all of your fitness statistics, as well as you can track your daily habits. So this is not just for the fitness enthusiast. This is not just for the person trying to lose weight. This is for anyone who wants to grow in their dedication and devotion and faith, and most importantly, discipline, because discipline is at the root of all of it. So if you want to grow in your faith, you have to be disciplined. If you want to grow in your fitness, you have to be disciplined. If you want to grow in business, you have to be disciplined, right? And discipline comes from everyday habits, every day. This is what I am. This is what I do. Our habits form who we are. Like, if I decided today that in 6 months I wanted to be a different person, I would change my habits. Because 6 months from now, my habits will have made me who I wanted to become, right? So that's what this app is for. And it's meant to help you develop this discipline and using these habits, this habit tracking machine, basically, to do it together, to do it with a community. So within Seek First, there are challenges you can join. And you can join as an organization, and you can create your own challenges. So as a church, you can join as a church, invite your members in, join the challenges, help people develop better prayer lives, better reading lives, better devotionals. And just the same way that a gym or a business could do the same thing. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a faith-based challenge. It could just be a, wake up every morning at 6 a.m. and go for a run challenge. It could just be a fitness challenge. And I did that so that people could be brought in. I'm a firm believer that in our faith, We don't have to constantly be screaming our faith at people. We show our faith by our actions just as much as we do by preaching at someone. So by bringing them to the app, hopefully they come and they use the app, and every single day there's a daily verse that shows up on your homepage. And then there's also a separate page that is just a daily devotional. And on that daily devotional, you can take notes and then save the notes for later. And you can check that off your list so that you can mark that you showed up today. You did your devotional. You grew a little bit today. You check off that you drank your water for today, that you went for your run or worked out today. You can check off that you journaled or prayed or whatever you have in your life that you need to grow in. You can get on the app and build it into your daily plan so that every day you show up, you check the boxes, and you see how everybody else is doing. Maybe you're struggling and maybe you need some help and you need some community around you. Make that post into your personal community, into your church community, into your gym, into your business community, or just make it to the general feed. And people will come and they will get behind you and they will support you. And that's the whole point of it. Give you tips, give you feedback. You can post what your workouts look like so that if somebody else is struggling with their workouts, now they have a plan. They say, I really like that format, and they can go do the same workouts as you. And that's what it is built around. Seek First Community is a place for you to grow. It is social media for growth in your own personal lives. So that's what the Seek First community is. Now, Train Seek First did not go away. Train Seek First, the programming side of things, it is still there. It is still functioning fully. It still has all these programs built in. You can still track all those things, but it is more the secondary product, right? It's the same vision and the same mission, just a different product. And I wanted to leave that as a thing that still exists because I still wanted people to have the opportunity to lose the weight if they need to, or gain the muscle if they want to, and still have those daily devotionals and not have to be a part of the main community. Actually, in Train Seek First, just a heads up, there is a community feature. So go check that out. If that is something you're interested in, if you need some programming, it's really good. And whenever you contact anyone, whenever there's that little contact bubble, it's me. You're getting in contact with Jacob Sanders, the builder of Seek First, right? So I built all of these more discipline-focused things. And then the third thing that I've been working on, and I'm super excited to share this, actually I haven't shared this with anybody, is called Letty. So Letty is an AI software that will aid in pastors and preachers and speakers and ministry leaders of any kind in helping them get things done faster and easier, helping them connect with their congregation easier, helping them connect with other preachers easier. So it basically, you can input all of your information that you want to put in that you've preached on, your sermon transcript if you have it, and it'll spit out the entire week of content. There will also be a feature coming very soon that is going to auto post to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the things that you may have in your church. That's going to be coming in the future, as well as hopefully some messaging software so that you can connect with your members more easily. But for now, its bare bones version is a AI software that helps preachers be more efficient. Because I know the ministry life can be very slow, it can be very demanding, and it can be honestly very difficult. Follow-up is one of the hardest things, and also it's one of the most important things in ministry. If we are not following up with the people who walk through that doors, they may think that we don't care about them, and we do care about them. So let's make that easier, right? So Letty is your pastoral assistant, right? We're spirit-led, and that's where that name was born out of. So Letty is coming soon, right? And I'm sure we'll talk about that a lot more. All right, so question 9 here is, what does never done mean to you? Never done is the heart of this show, and I feel like it's kind of a catchphrase of my life. So over the past couple years here, really, since I started to develop a little bit more discipline, losing weight, and all the things that I've tried to accomplish, I've failed a lot. And I've thought a lot about my failures. Like, I'm not making this podcast and talking about these businesses in the midst of my $10 million year. I'm talking about it in the midst of waiting on users. I'm talking about it while I'm struggling to wonder if I need to keep going. But through all of my failures, I'm never done. When I failed in the past, when I've tried to build a business or start something new or try a new program at church or try something different at the gym, and it just didn't work out, or it fizzled over time, or it fell on its face completely, there is always that moment of, you know what? Everything's fine the way it is. I'm content with life. And don't hear me as I'm not content with life. I love my life. I love my faith. I love my wife. I love my family. I love getting to spend time with them in the family business. But there's something inside of me that drives me forward more and more every single day. And I just can't explain it. And I know it's a God-given gift. So when I say never done, that's just who I am. Failed over and over again, but I'm never done. Even when I don't want to go back and try again, I'm never done. So that's who I am, and that's who I want to help you become, if that's your goal. Because in this life, we don't have much time. We don't have much time to teach people about Christ. We don't have much time to spend with our family. We don't have much time to create for our family a life that they deserve. We don't have much time in the day to get all of the things we need to done. But we have to. We have to go. We have to keep moving forward. We can never be done. Even when you fail, you cannot quit. You cannot be done. And if you need somebody to pick you up and carry you along, I'll be that guy. So come back, watch the next episode. I cannot promise that I have all of the answers. I cannot promise that I'll get you to your $10 million year. I can't promise that I'm going to teach you the next best software trends coming up in 2027. But I can promise you one thing. If you need something, I am always there for you. I'm always watching the comments. I will always be there. That's who I am. So that's what I mean by never done. That's the heart of this. So question 10 here is, why should someone listen to this show, and what are you hoping to build here? Yeah, so this show is for anyone who wants to grow in discipline, in faith, and in life. Really, people who are getting back up. This is for the people who have failed and are not done yet. Or maybe you've failed and you're struggling to want to continue. This is for you. I'm hoping to teach you valuable skills. I'm hoping to teach you about some valuable tools that you can use in business and in faith and in life. I'm hoping to give you resources that you can take and you can go develop things of your own. I'm hoping to create for you a life that is hard to create alone. Just like my mission of Seek First is to create growth around community, and my mission of Letty is to create growth by making life easier for a ministry leader, just like my mission in Train Seek First is to create growth in the fitness world and your fitness and your faith. My goal for this podcast, my goal for Jacob Sanders, my goal for the brand, for Never Done, is to help you grow in every aspect of your life. So, with that being said, we're going to be building something real here. This is not going to be the most polished podcast ever, especially not this first episode. So if you're listening right now and you're thinking, I really don't want to watch this guy again, please, if you keep coming back, I promise I'll keep getting better. I promise I will keep improving. Every single time we do this, I will have some value to add to your life. So I don't know what next week is going to look like. I don't know what we're going to be talking about, but we're going to be talking about a lot of really positive and good things to come, a lot of good tools. So please come back next week. Thank you so much for watching today. Seek first.